Good morning, everyone. Tammy and I are at the Museum of Appalachia. Not like fall harvest day, so there's lots of demonstrations going on, lots of people. And there's the old barn, but we'll be getting up around that. We hope to have a great day and the weather holds off. It's a little cloudy and a chance of rain. So come along with us as we visit the Museum of Appalachia. In other places that we've been to, we've seen these presses, but not an actual operation. You can see how he's doing it. He's feeding stalks into the drum. As the horse goes around and turns the mill, and then the juice comes out and is dropping in the bucket. And then they cook that down into sorghum and molasses. This is the way they used to do it. Yeah, buddy. So he just keeps feeding the stalks into the drum, and the juice is running out into the bucket. And they cook it down like maple sap, same kind of principle. And right over there, they're selling it. The sorghum and molasses is really sweet stuff. Used in a lot of recipes from old time. My mother used to make a pie. It was called shoe fly pie, and it had a lot of molasses in it. But this is the way they used to do it. An old foot pedal spinning wheel. You can see how she's spinning the twine. She's spinning it in her fingers, and then it's running around the wheel and then putting it on the bobbin there. Yep, that's the way they used to do it.
Do you guys have any questions about soap?
Yeah, that's how they used to make soap.
Here's the other thing you should know. Is they would have to make their soap
Cooking it down.
enough soap to last them for a full year. Because once you've raised your pig, you butchered your pig, you've used it all, you rendered your lard, and then you make your soap. You don't want to go through all of that process again to make it, multiple times a year. It's not like going to the store now and buying your soap. But this one I make in my crock pot, and it takes me about 2 hours, and it's ready to go within.
I don't know if you can hear that or not, but she's talking about boiling down the lard from the pigs once they were butchered. Make the soap.
You want to make some soup, you put it in a crock pot, you turn it on low, and you let it go all day, and it kind of makes it itself. Yeah.
This guy's making sassafras tea.
Sugar, yes.
Up there is a whiskey still. There's several buildings here. Blacksmith Shop, smokehouse, an old homestead farm house. There's quite a bit to do here. Here's a look inside the blacksmith shop. Although nobody's demonstrating it right now. Blacksmithing is kind of a lost art. But you can see the hearth over there. They're letting people try their hand at a buck saw. It's not as easy as it looks when you grab a hold of that saw. Look at the teeth on that saw. That was a lot of work.
Very good.
Good education for the kids. They let them keep the little pieces that they cut off. You want to know how they used to drill holes? Well, there you go. That's how they used to drill holes for like dowel rods when they put things together. This was before a brace and bit. Those are sheep shears. That's how they used to do it. Here they're demonstrating quilting. There's an old bed with a smaller children's bed underneath of it. But the old beds, the ladies over there cutting quilts and making quilts, handmade. All kinds of different quilting stuff. Well, this was how they stored their milk in such underground where it was cooler. And so the milk wouldn't spoil, or vegetables or whatever they put underground. They built this little lean-to right into the side of the hill. And they would put things in there for cool storage, let's say, not cold storage, but cool storage. And when they were cutting wheat in the old days, that's how they used to do it, with this big long sickle. This is before machinery, and my father actually had one of those, although we didn't use it. It came from long ago from our family. You could see the blade up there, and of course they would sharpen it with a file, and you would swing it. You had a lot of hip action when you used one of those. Can't really get a good shot of it all in there, but that's a sickle. Or scythe, I think some people call it. Here's the smokehouse and the meat house, and of course that big tree trunk over there, they'd fill that with salt. And then they would take their hams or whatever and then soak it in the salt for curing. Otherwise, they would smoke their meats and cure them so that they would last without rotting. But usually every house had something like this, an old smokehouse or curing meat. And this one has an upstairs. There's a big vat up there. Probably a grain mill up there. But it's like the farm museum that we went to. All of the settlers, all the pioneers, and all of the mountain people used corn. I mean, that was a very reliable staple. I mean, they used corn in almost everything. Ground corn, had it almost every meal. The old smoke and meat house. So they used to scald the hogs, they'd scrape the hide before cutting it up into different things. Big large vats they used to put lard into and get it really hot, and then they'd put sliced up pieces of the skin and make what some people call cracklings, others call hog rinds, those kind of things. They didn't waste anything from their animals when they butchered them. They used it all. Yeah, there's a peacock. Yeah, see? Pretty. Here's the old sawmill. And I'm a little disappointed that they're not demonstrating it. But it was a lot of work. This one is run by an engine. It's green, looks like maybe out of a John Deere tractor, but this was the old sawmill. There's a saw back there that they've been using. But I'll walk you down here and show you the other part of the mill. But you see the big belt that is tied to the engine. In some cases they used old steam engines to drive the mill. This, they're just using a motor to drive it with a big flywheel on the other side. But here's some of the flywheels that the belts would run around to power the individual pieces of the mill. But I'm disappointed that nobody's here actually running the mill. The primary part of the mill, you can see how big that blade is, and that's pretty small compared to some I've seen. But I don't know what this mechanism is called, but I would call it a trolley-like affair. The log would be laid on that, and it would run back and forth from left to right as they were running it through the saw blade. And then the crank that you see there, right there, would move the log closer, the depth of the cut on the log, and that thing would just run back and forth from left to right as it fed the log into the saw. And to say some of these old sawmills are dangerous is an understatement, but they all knew what they were doing. But this is how they got their lumber in the old days. They cut the tree down, and they had tools that would debark it, and then they would load it on one of these carriages. But that's the sawmill. Here's the homesteader's house. This is a Peter's Homestead house. Here's the church, the Irwin Chapel Church. Like I said, every community had a church. The mountain people were very religious and somewhat superstitious, like I was saying, but every little community had a church. And up there is the school. Every community had a school. Usually one-room schoolhouse where all the kids would gather from, you know, all the way up through the grades until they graduated. Usually the number of kids was pretty small. Okay, they do have a blacksmith shop in operation. guys working in there. Every little community had a blacksmith shop. I mean, they made everything. You can see the wheels down there and the loops that they would use, but you can see him over there making different things. But the blacksmith was a master craftsman. This thing was a bellows, it blew air into the fire, keep it hot. It's a hand crank. See, they used to make all kinds of things. Teaching the kids. It's a good lesson for them. Working the coal forge. Just having the kids help. This is inside the wheelwright shop, just on the other side of the blacksmith that we were showing you, and how they used to make the wheels. See, they've got some there. And that's how the patterns, I guess, that they would make the hoops for the wheels, depending on what size of wheel you wanted. This is how they'd make the wheel. It's kind of like a vice affair. That's the center hubs. They've got some cut. Lots of different tools. See, there's an old mallet. But that's how they used to do it. You know, making a wheel would take a lot of work. And a lot of times, to get that bend, I don't know, but it seems to me that they would soak it in water, and then they would slowly clamp it and keep clamping it until they got the right bend radius that they wanted to make the wheel. To my way of thinking, it's the only way to get that wood to bend like that is to soak it in water. But I don't know. But that's the way they would do it. You can see the patterns up there on the wall. This is the wheelwright shop. Here's a new corn mill. And they got a big slab of tree that they've cut. That cotton picking thing is huge. But you can see the corn mill. And usually they ran this by steam engine, or today they would run it by just an engine. Of course, the grist mills, they all ran off of a water turbine or a big water wheel. And they do have one of those here, but obviously it's not in operation. But this is how they would grind up corn and flour and different kinds of stuff. You can see a cog of gears up there. And you can usually see those in old grist mills around the country. Unfortunately, not a lot of them are in operation. But here's a grinding stone. And you can see just different kinds of things. It's all kind of laid together. Somebody's taken it apart. They just don't have it all back together. But this would have been an old corn mill. That's one big tree trunk. Wow. You've heard about splitting rails? Well, that's how they did it. Go get him, girl. That's the way they did it. See, he's got wedges in there. That's how they used to split rails, with all by hand. Swinging that sledgehammer is about all those kids can do. We'll start driving those wedges down through the long part of that log and split it up again so it ends up like these. Good looking red cedar though. You talk about a lot of work. That was a lot of work. See, he starts to crack it. Then they'll come down and they'll put the wedges in there and just keep splitting it. That's it. Now he's going to put the wedges down through it and it'll start splitting it all the way down the end. That was a lot of work. And that's how they made all the fences.
I've never seen another pattern like this one.
She
It's
has-
almost like Indian.
Yeah. She has a lot
You
of
got
like
a pile of
the
pig
purple.
fat
She has a
there.
lot of the pink and the blue.
Yeah, I've got
This
a
is
lot
how
of
they
that
made
blue.
candles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my grandmother had some when she passed away. I've got a
And
like,
lard.
Beautiful, but yeah, this is more like an Indian type scene.
He's got several jars here of lard.
Mm-hmm.
And you would boil it down.
Hey, I'm very sorry.
You have one job. Yeah, I do today.
Making apple butter.
Okay.
The way my sister does it. They boil it down, and she fixes fresh apple butter every year, every fall. $10 a jar. It's not bad, really. Takes a long time to cook that down. Inside one of the buildings, this is the woodworking section where it's an old wood lathe. And axe handles and planes and just all kinds of stuff. We've got a display of all of the different tools they used. You could put a lot of pork in there. A lot of different axes used for different kinds of things. You can see over there, broad axes. It's like an old coal miner's hat. Yep, National Carbide Miner's Lamp Oil. Took a while to make that chain. And you had the leather mason. Not mason, but leather workers. Leathermen. And part of that was making shoes.
Must be a side saddle.
Oh yeah, that is a side saddle.
There's a couple down the road too.
So is that one up there.
Both of them
Or they all are.
are. Yeah.
They're all side saddles.
I didn't realize that. I like the ones that are racing with them.
Yeah.
You know, it's all that.
You don't really see these too often, but a rifling machine. I've never seen one of them before.
Thing's huge.
Do you think that's big enough? Everything they use to cook with. Trunk covered with calf hide. Look at that. For iron or lead pigs, I'm not sure. Just lead bars, I guess. I'm not sure what a lead pig is.
With calf hide.
An early oil lamp back there. There's washboards. My oh my. Some old muskets. There's an old crossbow down there and powder horns. And all kinds of bullet molds. Some more muskets. Look at the size of that handle. You think that's big enough? Here's the tack and harness shop. And a little sewing machine. And they made all kinds of harnesses and saddles and all the hand tools over there on the wall. I don't know if you can read that, but I can't get too close to it. They've got rails here. But all kinds of pieces of leather and a big old chest of drawers here. They had a lot of stuff in it, I'm sure, for making saddles. The leather and tack shop.
That will expose your gunpowder. Then you will pour in a little bit of gunpowder in here, close this up, dump the rest of your gunpowder into the barrel, drop the musket ball in, paper and all, take your rammer out, and you will ram your charge home, tamping it into place. You will then return your gun's ramrod into the thimbles. Now at this point, the gun is actually not ready to fire. We still have to pull this back. If you've heard the phrase, don't go off half-cocked, that is what that means. So we have to pull this all the way back. When I am instructed to do so, I will pull the trigger, which will release a series of events, starting with this mechanism falling forward, releasing this flint against the frizzen. That will expose my gunpowder and generate a shower of sparks. Dry powder, and Lord willing, that will fire the gun.
We are inside the Hall of Fame building here at Museum of Appalachia. Well, I'll tell you, that's something. It's wood boards. Perpetual motion machine. It's on a big glass case. This is the mountain people and their music and their instruments section. The old Carlisle up there. Charlie Monroe. Oh boy. You might remember him from Hee Haw. Archie Campbell was born and raised in Bulls Gap, Tennessee, where Tammy's grandfather was born and raised. Know if you remember it or not, but Archie Campbell used to play a judge on the TV show Hee Haw, and that's the gavel he used. He was a man of many talents. Many talents. Tammy and I visited Bulls Gap, Tennessee, and in its heyday, it was something else, where the passenger trains used to run through it. But it's just kind of a intersection today where there isn't all the passenger trains stopped, all the hotels and stuff that was there are all closed up, and at one time, it was a grand place. Legends of country music. Here you see a lot of the instruments that the mountain people used and made themselves. Stradivarius violin. Right next to a small country-made fiddle. A gourd fiddle. Banjos. bedpan. Homemade out of a toilet seat.
Wow. That's some kind of carving. You know, don't cry. Yeah, more of that. He made that for himself.
I don't know how many people probably haven't heard of Alvin C. York, but
Made for his son, right here. Yeah. Little mate.
there's a whole thing on Cordell Hall.
Married, father,
You might remember him from the 1941 Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor. The upstairs part of this building is just full of different things that the mountain people used, made, and used in their everyday life. Steam-powered sawmill. And a lot of these people, you know, just made everything. Strange looking instrument that they made. It's just amazing. Somebody made a replica of a battleship. These old kitchen clocks. I had one that was my great aunt's. And when we went full-time RVing, I gave it to my niece. I remember it at my great aunt's farm there in the kitchen. Many, many years. That's a different kind of sink. Haven't seen one like that before, but the old telephones. There's a sign downstairs, a quote from a mountain person saying, "The things we had, we made ourselves." I mean, you didn't go to the store and buy this stuff, they made it. There's a good display of quilts here, hanging on the wall. Homemade dolls and walking sticks. This museum is actually quite nice, of the way the mountain people lived. I'm telling you what, they had a hard life, but they loved every minute of it. Plants and herbs used by home doctoring. wagon with a, oh my, these are coffins, handmade coffins. And some of the casket hardware that was used. And how they made them. And there is a horse-drawn hearse. Another coffin that they made, and smaller coffins for infants when they passed away. I'm telling you. Bizarre. Some of the tools that were used. Well, I'm telling you. City life was a piece of cake compared to the way the mountain people lived. Like a doctor's office. Well, actually, this is a dentist. Look at these old wheelchairs. Wow. You've heard about them, but how many of you actually ever seen one? Quite something when you stand back and look at it. The museum is just full with all kinds of things. Over here is a display of Civil War. Quite something when you think about the history of the mountain people. Some cannonballs. fabrication kit. Whoa, whoa, whoa. These are the various quilts that I was telling you about. My mother made quilts for years, so did my aunt. And there's the hearse. Right back there. And some more on the wall over here. They're highly prized by families. My mother made quilts for all 4 of us children, plus all of the grandchildren before she passed away. There's the old mill up there. Yeah, I don't think it works anymore, but we did buy some cornmeal here at the Museum of Appalachia. Little pony out there. And the old barn with the old thrashing machine out there in front on the side. These barns had specific names of the style, but I don't remember what they are. But the one year we came here, this is our 3rd time here, but one year we came here, they had a big Belgian draft horse. I mean, the thing was just absolutely enormous. But we've had a good time today. Watched a lot of good old-time displays of how the mountain people used to live at the Museum of Appalachia Heritage Festival. They're still up on stage singing mountain music. But it's been a real good day today. So thanks for watching, and we got another week here in the Smoky Mountains, so we'll have some more videos for you. Goodbye for now.